budget gear plus skills equals better photographer. That's a truth that not every photographer wants to hear. We spend thousands of dollars on our equipment. Right now, I'm recording on a Sony a7 Mark IV with a 17-28mm Tamron f 2.8 lens. I'm using a $200 wireless Rode microphone. I've got a cage on this thing. I've got a $2,000 PC. I've got $300 studio monitors. I've got an audio interface here. I've got countless pieces of gear. The lighting equipment that you see here is about $3,500, $4,000 Australian. Photography is an expensive hobby. And I'm going to say this now. If you think that better gear is going to make you a better photographer, please unsubscribe. I don't want you here. That's kidding. I want everyone here. But I still stand by that sentiment. It's not something that everyone wants to hear. When I first started my photography journey back in 2018, I legitimately thought that having better gear was going to make me a better photographer, a better videographer, a better content creator, a better video editor. All across the board, I thought I was going to be a better creator. That is legit. That is no bullshit. That is exactly what I thought. And I was so confident in that I reached out to Sony with this email right here. I totally believed that they were going to give me a camera and that was going to be my ticket to being super famous, having millions of subscribers, living a lavy-lush life. What the actual fuck was I thinking? I barely knew how to use a camera. Who the fuck did I think I was, reaching out to Sony with work that looked like this? Now look, no shade if you're taking photos like this. You are at the beginning of your journey. But wow. Oh, I don't even know what's happening in the photos. God. I don't even know what the edits are. I don't know what the subject is. They're pretty terrible. I thought that by upgrading my camera, it was going to somehow magically make all of my photos turn into something so grand and so perfect that it was going to make brands, businesses, creators, anyone work with me because of a camera. I was so out of my depth. I had no clue what I was doing. Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? I'm going to read this off Google so I don't butcher this. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with low ability in a specific area overestimate their competence, while experts often underestimate their own, assuming tasks are easy for everyone. This graph will explain it all. I was the confident idiot. Probably a little bit too overly confident, if I'm honest. Because of that realization that I absolutely sucked at photography, I had to take a giant step back. I had to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself the question, what am I trying to accomplish here with photography? Now, I'd been creating YouTube videos for a couple of years on my own at this point, but videos aren't photos. They're a totally different game. I had to figure out what story it was that I was trying to tell, and instead of using videos, I only had a single frame to figure that out. You have to condense that story, that feeling, that emotion into one frame. I had to start from the beginning. I'm someone who firmly believes that if you love something, you learn everything you can about it. Whether that's been music in my life, whether that's been video editing, whether that's been storytelling, whether it's been friends, family. If you genuinely love someone or something, you learn everything you can about it. The reason you do that is so that you're best able to understand and cater to that person, to that thing that you're doing in an act of love and preservation. So starting from the beginning is exactly what I did. I had to put one foot in front of the other and just start. So I was watching videos, I was watching tutorials, I was reading about cameras, I was reading manuals, I was trying to gather as many resources as I could in order to best be able to tell what I wanted to get across through photos. I started learning about composition, lighting, editing, mainly editing, different techniques, different camera angles, different settings, and just really trying to grasp everything about photography. Side tangent, if you want to speed up that process, I highly suggest you grab the Cinematic Preset Toolkit. It's $29 right now, down from $100, and it's permanently staying at $29. It'll condense 7 years of knowledge into 3 simple steps, getting you quicker edits and better results in literal minutes. I guarantee it will, and if it doesn't, I will give you a full refund. Learning was really, really hard. Starting from the beginning, admitting that you suck. It sucks. It really sucks. But it was totally necessary. Because anything that's hard is worth doing, and anything that's worth doing is worth overdoing. Once I started to grasp just what it was that made photography better and what made my photography better, that planted the seed in my mind, which was, does gear really matter? Was it really the more expensive equipment that made my work better? Or was it simply taking the time to learn about what makes photos good? Was that what made my photography better? It wasn't until 2023 that I was able to start learning about this whole good gear versus bad gear, cheap versus expensive gear. And the truth kind of surprised me. Gear absolutely does not matter for the most part. Now that's a little weird to say out loud, but cheap used gear from reputable brands like Fujifilm, this is a Fujifilm S1000, Sony with their A300 DSLR from 2008, and yeah, even Samsung with their aptly named WB100 bridge camera. These cameras are perfectly fine to achieve the goal of learning about photography and taking great photos. Cheap, used, reputable gear will always be the best way to go when getting your first foothold into photography. To be honest, any camera of the last 20 years will be perfectly fine to start out on, to learn with, to abuse, and just not worry that if you drop it, you're not wasting thousands of dollars, you're more likely wasting no more than $100. Because then you can go pick up another one. You only need to upgrade once you've reached the limits of that camera. A natural progression would be, you bought this off Facebook Marketplace for $200. This is a Nikon B500 and it shoots JPEG. It shoots pretty good photos. But the next step up from that would be finding something that shoots RAW photos, which this DSLR here with an interchangeable lens is the Sony A300. It shoots RAW, it shoots JPEG, and this would be the natural progression that you would go to from bridge to DSLR, and then from there you'd go to a mirrorless or whatever other camera that you so choose. The caveat here is that you can go too cheap. When you're buying third-party cameras from websites like Wish, Temu, Alibaba, AliExpress, whatever, you are going to have a bad time, a really, really bad time. These are not good cameras despite their faux specs. Those cameras are what's called e-waste, and you need to steer clear of them. So if you're just stumbling into photography, don't get caught in the trap of thinking that you need the latest and greatest gear because the photographers that you follow or the people that you admire use that gear. That works for them and their processes because they're doing it at such a high level. A professional photographer with a bad camera will always take a better photo than a beginner photographer with a professional camera. The professional knows what they're doing and the beginner does not. That is why budget gear plus skills equals better photographer. Again, if you want to speed up your learning process, grab the Cinematic Preset Toolkit linked down below. Again, it's 7 years worth of knowledge condensed into 3 steps to make your photos go from stuff like this to stuff like this. Also, like and subscribe and watch my last adventure here.